Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on quite a fascinating journey, actually. We're looking into the history of a really unique, maybe quirky piece of music gear. One that didn't just, add an effect. It really defined a sound. It influenced whole genres. We've pulled together a stack of sources, including one called Vox Repeat Percussion, an exhaustive history, which sounds promising. And our mission today is to understand how one of the very earliest standalone tremolo effects carved out this really distinct and, yeah, undeniably percussive niche in music.
Absolutely. We're talking about the Vox Repeat Percussion.
Exactly. A device that didn't just vibrate the sound with a gentle pulse, it chopped it.
Right. It wasn't about that subtle shimmer.
No, imagine this rhythmic, almost stuttering effect that really grabs your attention.
Mm-hmm. And what's fascinating here, I think, is that while so many effects back then were aiming for smoothness and the gentle organic swell,
Yeah, like the amp tremolos.
precisely, this pedal just went completely the other way. It deliberately embraced this very distinct, almost aggressive stutter.
A rhythmic interruption.
Yeah, and it left such an undeniable mark on music. It really challenged what people thought a tremolo could even be.
Okay, let's definitely unpack this unusual piece of kit then. We need to figure out the technical wizardry behind it, trace its journey, and explore why its legacy still resonates today.
Sounds good. Where do we start? Mid-60s.
Yeah, let's set the scene. Mid-1960s. The music world's buzzing with innovation, right? Manufacturers are pushing boundaries. And Vox, under Jennings Musical Industries in the UK at that time, they weren't just content making their famous amps and guitars.
No, they were actively looking to expand into standalone effects pedals. That was the new frontier.
And this is exactly where the repeat percussion kind of steps onto the stage.
It really was a pivotal moment because before this, tremolo was mostly integrated into amps, right? Like Fender's famous opto trim.
But that smooth, undulating sound.
Yeah, using that light-dependent resistor for a gentle sway. But the Vox Repeat Percussion, it was one of the very earliest standalone tremolos. And crucially, it was designed from the get-go to sound drastically different.
It wasn't trying to be an amp tremolo in a box.
Not at all.
No.
Forging its own path.
Exactly. So instead of that gentle pulse, you get this sharp, percussive chopping.
Less a wave, more like a rhythmic switch.
Yeah, like a machine gun stutter, almost. You can just imagine hearing that for the first time. It must have sounded so fresh, so distinct.
Completely. Especially when effects were still relatively new, it offered this whole new rhythmic angle for guitarists.
Now, that unique sound, was it just the rhythm, the chopping, or were there other things in that early circuit design giving it its voice? Because our sources really dive into the design. It gets quite interesting.
Oh yeah, the technical foundation is absolutely key here. You have to look inside the box. Early units, the really sought-after ones, famously used discrete germanium transistors.
Ah, germanium. That always adds a certain character, doesn't it?
It does. It was a deliberate choice, and it gave it a unique warmth, maybe a different way of breaking up the signal compared to silicon later on. It was a major departure from the LFODA approach.
Right, the low-frequency oscillator and operational transconductance amplifier system.
Yeah, which became common later. That system uses an oscillating voltage to control gain, usually for a much smoother, more predictable sweep.
But the germanium circuit was different.
Much more raw, yeah. A more abrupt kind of chop. It really influenced its soul, its core sound.
Okay, and that machine gun chop specifically, how did they get that particular texture?
Well, that really comes down to the modulation waveform. It was much closer to a sharp square wave.
Not a smooth sine or triangle wave like you'd usually expect for tremolo.
Exactly. Think of a sine wave like a smooth dimmer switch,
Yeah.
fading in and out. A square wave is more like an instant on-off switch.
Cut, then back on, instantly.
Precisely. That's what gave it that rhythmic, almost digital-like precision, ironically, way before digital effects.
That's fascinating. So, okay, you have this unique, choppy sound. How did players actually control it? Must have been pretty simple back then.
Very straightforward, yeah. Intuitive controls, you had a depth or strength knob,
To control how intense the chop was.
exactly how deep or subtle, and then a speed or rate knob, obviously, for how fast the chopping happened. Slow throb to rapid flutter.
Makes sense. And an on-off switch, presumably?
Yep, an on-off foot switch for bypass. True bypass too, we think, so that didn't mess with your tone when off. And importantly, those early units were battery-powered only.
Right, emphasizing that standalone nature.
Totally portable.
So with depth and speed, players could sculpt it. But what were the sort of tonal characteristics people really latched onto? Our sources seem to really emphasize that hard staccato nature.
They do. And it's crucial, like you said, it's not a volume swell, it's a rhythmic attack.
Like an automated mute switch, creating a new rhythm.
Exactly, a very active, percussive thing, not just a passive wave washing over the sound.
And I read something interesting about combining it with other effects.
Oh yeah, if you combine this with delay, or maybe reverb, you could get something approximating a rhythmic sequencer effect.
Wow, okay, so you sustain a chord, add the chop, and the delay repeats that pattern.
You got it. You could create these surprisingly complex, almost arpeggiated patterns, really ahead of its time, using simple analog stuff.
That explains why it was inspirational then.
Absolutely. You can see the lineage to later stutter effects or those helicopter tremolos. It laid some groundwork, showing that this choppy approach wasn't just a quirk, it was a real innovation.
Okay, let's trace its actual journey then. The original, you said, came out when exactly?
Between roughly 1965 and 1968, and it came in that very distinctive wedge-shaped enclosure.
Ah, yes, the classic Vox look from that era, like the early wahs and distortion boosters.
Instantly recognizable. You'd see it listed as the Vox V809 Repeat Percussion in catalogs sometimes. And importantly, those early ones were hand-wired in England with those germanium transistors we talked about. That's the magic combination for collectors.
But its run as a standalone pedal wasn't actually that long.
Relatively short, no.
Mm-hmm.
By the late 60s, Vox started integrating the circuit into other gear.
Like?
Their guitar organs, some combo multi-effect units. It was a common thing then. Bundling effects.
Right. But then what happened?
Well, by the early 70s, trends shifted. Smoother tremolo sounds became more popular, maybe easier for mainstream tastes. So Vox gradually phased out the standalone repeat percussion.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of fell out of fashion for a while, became a bit niche.
The story doesn't end there, does it? Because people rediscovered it.
Exactly. This is where the cult status really builds, because that sound was so unique, so inimitable, it found a whole new life later on.
Through boutique builders.
Yeah, today you've got builders like Cadlin Bread, JHS, lots of DIY kit makers too. They've cloned it, reinterpreted it, and they often specifically market them as choppy tremolo or repeat percussion pedals. They know exactly what sound people are chasing.
It's a real testament to how special that original chop was.
Definitely. This revival shows its enduring appeal. It's still prized, especially in like psychedelic music, surf rock, experimental stuff.
Anywhere you want that unique stutter.
Precisely. It proves that sometimes being different, even if it means going against the grain at the time, is exactly what makes you timeless. It found its true audience eventually.
And speaking of audiences, every iconic piece of gear has its champions, right? The players who really made it famous.
Oh, absolutely. And for the repeat percussion, for many people, the first name that comes to mind is Spaceman 3.
Ah, yes. Their sound is drenched in that hypnotic psychedelic drone.
Totally. They really leaned into that trance-like texture the pedal could create. You can imagine that rhythmic stutter just building these incredible immersive soundscapes, like a percussive heartbeat inside the swirl.
And sonic boom specifically.
Indeed. Sonic Boom from Spaceman 3 and also his solo project Spectrum, he was really instrumental in popularizing it again, especially in the indie and neo-psych scenes later on.
His use really highlighted how one specific unique effect could almost define a band's whole sound.
It really could. It wasn't just an add-on. It was core to their musical language, like another instrument almost.
And beyond Spaceman 3. Our sources mention other early adopters.
Yeah, it seems experimental guitarists and keyboardists back in the late 60s really gravitated towards it too. They saw its potential for pushing boundaries,
Yeah.
creating textures that just stood apart from the normal, smoother tremolos.
Must have felt like discovering a secret weapon.
I bet. Using that rhythmic pulse to create something genuinely new and atmospheric.
Okay, so we've covered its origins, the tech, the history, the key players. Bringing it all together, what does this mean for people today? Musicians, collectors, what's the lasting takeaway here?
Well, connecting it all, it's clear that original Vox Repeat Percussion units are, well, rare now and highly collectible.
Especially those wedge box ones, I imagine.
Oh yeah, they can fetch pretty high prices. And it's because that distinct percussive voice sets them apart. It's not like an amp tremolo, and it's not quite like modern digital tremolos either.
Even though digital ones can do square waves.
They can, but there's something about that specific germanium-driven chop, that character. It's hard to perfectly replicate. It has this tangible, almost raw quality.
So it's definitely not your everyday run-of-the-mill tremolo, is it?
No, exactly. Today, you'd rightly call it more of a specialty effect, not necessarily a bread-and-butter tremolo everyone needs.
But still incredibly important historically.
Absolutely. A vital piece of early stompbox history. It shows that innovative spirit, that fearless experimentation from the 60s. Its legacy really is a testament to how thinking outside the box, or maybe outside the sine wave in this case, can create something genuinely iconic.
It really proves that sometimes the designs that dare to be different are the ones that stick around, the ones musicians keep coming back to.
Couldn't agree more.
Wow. What an incredible deep dive into the Vox Repeat Percussion. We've really seen how this innovative mid-60s effect, with its unique square wave chop and that percussive attack, just carved out its own space, influencing psychedelic experimental rock from its germanium roots to the modern boutique clones. Its cult status feels totally earned.
It really is a powerful lesson in how a specific, almost defiant sound found its audience.
Ultimately, the story isn't just about a pedal, is it? It feels like a lesson in innovation itself.
I think so. It reminds us that the big breakthroughs often come not from just refining what exists, but from daring to be audaciously different, challenging norms, forging new paths.
It was a bold move back then, and the impact still reverberates.
Yeah.
So next time you hear a guitar doing that stuttering thing, or maybe a synth with a hypnotic rhythmic chop, take a moment. Consider the legacy of the Vox Repeat Percussion. It reminds us that sometimes the most groundbreaking stuff comes from deliberately choosing to be different, embracing the unique, saying no to the expected sound.
Finding that singular voice.
Exactly. And maybe it prompts you, the listener, to think, what other specialty effects, the ones often overlooked or deemed too niche, what might they hold? What key could unlock new musical territories for you if you just dare to look beyond the familiar?
Food for thought, definitely. What distinct sonic pathways are out there waiting?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope you discovered something new and intriguing about the history of sound and innovation today.